Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's podcast. So today I have some special guests who are a big part of the Master Workshop series that we have at Arts Bonita. Some of you might not know that that's like one of the biggest things that we do here. It's one of the most special things that we offer. And we offer workshops throughout the year, but of course, between that January and end of March is like that's the prime time, and it's filled with amazing master workshop artists coming to Arts Bonita, and there's no better example of that than Mary Parkman, who is sitting right here. I wanted you to introduce yourselves and let us know, what you do and, what type of art it is that you do, however you would explain that. Just let the audience know who you are and what you do.
All right, I'm Mary Parkman, and I teach workshops here. And I'm also an artist that I show in Naples. And I actually had a great launching experience here at Bonita. And I took a lot of abstract workshops here.
Okay.
And that really helped me get more into my expressive florals artwork that I do now. And the expressive florals are loose and but have it couched in reality, which I think is their draw. So, and they've gotten very popular. And I think that a lot of people enjoy doing that kind of artwork.
Yeah. Okay. How about for you?
Sure. I'm Laura Caliguiri, and I am also a painter. I usually paint large acrylic and most often expressive florals or non-objective landscapes and what some people might call non-objective or abstract. And I also teach one class here. It's the one-night events. And I also help Mary in her process during the workshops, from helping her plan. And she's very diligent about how she manages her time and making sure that the most is made of that time for the students. So, and then afterwards, helping her with some of her social media and items.
How long have you been doing that for? Is it a recent thing, or have you been doing it for a little while?
Maybe a couple of years?
Well, I'd say even at the beginning when I think you started taking my workshops maybe 5 years ago. And when I first met Laura, I was like, okay, she's great. And one of the things that she does really well for me is after a workshop or after the day, I might ask her, so do you think the demonstration went on too long? Was the lecture too long? Should I, she just helps me by taking a pulse of the class.
Okay.
So I get a feel for, timing especially, and also for next year, how I might improve the workshop. So having taught it for 5 years, over the years, I review it with Laura. We put our, heads together to figure out how to make it better next time.
Okay.
And I think in that way, I take the workshops very seriously because I know people's time is really important to them, and I don't want to waste any of their time, and I want to teach what I think is most important for them to be a successful painter of expressive florals. And not just expressive florals, but any kind of painting.
Okay. Yeah, because you guys work really well together. I know just in dealing with you guys last year, it was like, there was I would talk to you sometimes, I would talk to you sometimes, and I would also just be in the studio, seeing you, helping, talking with students, getting people set up, helping people feel comfortable, things like that. So great dynamic, obviously. But you guys know that because you guys work together, so you're like, yeah, we got this.
Yep, very lucky.
Yeah. So I tell you guys all the time out there, hey, sign up because stuff sells out. So Mary Parkman's classes currently right now are all sold out for this season, and she has 4 that she's going to be doing. That doesn't mean you shouldn't go and sign up, because you can get on the wait list, and I strongly encourage that you do that because oftentimes there are people who drop out, something changes, and spots become available. So all 4 of her classes are currently sold out, but you should get on that wait list. And I wouldn't wait to do it, because the sooner you do that, it locks in your spot on the wait list. And so it just gives you a better chance to get in if something happens or something changes.
Right. The list is always a running thing. It's always changing. Whenever I get the last list, it's like, oh, it's updated because someone had to cancel out. So go on the waiting list.
Yes, go on the wait list. And but let's talk about the florals. I know that this is something that you specialize. You touched on it a little bit. What is the three different classes that you have? Can you take me through just sort of what are they doing in these classes as you progress through, and what's the order that you would say this is what you should take them in?
Good question, because one of the things I really feel strongly about is that people take Expressive Florals 1 first. It's basically a curriculum, and I teach actually in a way, a very formal type of training. The way I learned, where I've learned about drawing, value, and color, and they're all very important. Each one is very important. Probably one of the most important is I don't know what's more important, but value I find is very important, more important that it gets credit for. And so in Expressive Florals 1, I really focus on helping students learn about how important value is in paintings to make them have a space, a place, a mood, all of that. Some of those things which people may wonder, why does my painting look so amateur? What's wrong with it? And a lot of times the color is off, a lot of times because they're not able to make sophisticated colors. And it's only because they've never been taught. And it can be learned. And there's a lot of things that I can help them with. And I find that after they've gone through, I call it boot camp, which is day 1 of Expressive Florals 1, people are like, it's a big day, and that's where Laura really steps in. I'm like, because we have to get through everything. We have a lot to get through. I provide them with canvases to get started, a small canvas, because most artists, no matter how advanced they are, and I get all levels. That's one of the challenges in running a workshop is you have students that have less experience and some that are actually very experienced and maybe stopped painting to have families and whatnot, and are getting back into painting. And so you have so many levels, and you're trying to make sure you're addressing everybody's issues at once, which is another reason why Laura is very helpful, because she may say, you may want to check over here, just to make sure that I'm addressing everybody, because with 12 people in the workshop, and I don't like it to go over that, and because I really spend a lot of time with each student on a one-to-one basis. So Expressive Florals 1, though not everybody knows how to draw, I do use the grid to help, and some people come in who have maybe had painting experience and they think, oh, the grid, oh, brother, this is a beginning thing. But I still use the grid, and I've been painting for 50 how many years? About 50 years now. But so I have a little experience there. And the grid helps me to get, I tell my students to keep honest, because if you keep painting a floral, they get bigger and bigger. And it's like, well, you end up with this big giant flower, and it's somewhat obese. But the grid keeps you honest, keeps you in check a little bit, and by using the grid, it helps people who don't know how to draw as well to just at least get everything in place. And then I'm better able to help them as they progress with their painting.
And using the same reference. The
the
grid is
point.
helpful.
See,
and then
see how she's good.
Yeah, she did it. Yeah, she did it on cue.
On cue. And so I also work from a photo. Initially, when I first started doing the workshops, I remember I came in with a bunch of flowers, like actually fake flowers, because I wasn't sure, like, how am I going to? And I really wrestled with how to address that, because then it became more of a drawing issue, like, and it's not a drawing class; it's expressive florals, which is, actually jumping through a few hoops first in order to get that very loose feel of a floral. So by working through the same reference and having a grid on the reference that relates to the grid on the canvas, there's a relationship, and I can come and help this student if they're having troubles, if they're off track. We're both looking at the same thing at the same time on a flat dimension, and which makes, just takes you leaps forward, as opposed to trying to figure out how to draw the flowers that's somewhere in the middle of the room. So there's a big difference there, and I think it helps them launch forward. The other thing that helps them is to paint big, which is what we go into after boot camp day one. Then we start painting big and loose, and we start with a big hot mess first, I call it, because we start spreading paint and staining the painting to get like a surface going that's very loose without even putting anything on it. So that's what happens first in the big painting.
Okay.
The other thing about the grid and sort of all of this like foundational pre-work is that on one hand, you might think I think people will think this is hard, and I thought this was an expressive class.
Right.
But it's the pre-work that allows you to be successfully expressive. So there will be paintings that if you saw photos of a lot of people in Mary's classes over time, there's a grid. There's all these component critical parts, but you end up with a very expressive painting that people would never really understand all the work behind it, but it's that pre-work that lets you get to both a good painting and an expressive painting.
Right, there's a construction phase and a deconstruction phase. It's very similar to abstract work, where abstract artists, do a bunch of construction and then deconstruction. Well, in this phase, we construct using the grid and the drawing, and I distinguish the difference between drawing and painting. Drawing is creating the skeleton of the floral, and painting is, on top of that skeleton. So it allows you to be loose without getting caught up in the drawing.
When I walk into the classroom, and because again, last year was like my first experience for all this stuff, so I always the workshop bunch, the students that come in, they're always, first of all, they're in the second you can get in, and they move in, right? They're bringing luggage like they're going to a foreign country, and they've got all this stuff. They come in, they set up for like 3 days, right? Are your 3 days?
Yes.
Yeah. But anyway, it's so great. People come in, there's food, there's there's coffee, or sometimes people want decaf specifically. I take care of that. That's what I mean, that social aspect of it. It's almost like people are coming home for the holidays, when they come to your workshop. That's what I've experienced and what I've seen. Can you talk a little bit more about the students that you have in the classes that you see regularly, what it's like when you see new students and kind of what that dynamic is?
Well, I love that question. I can't wait to talk about it because, Laura being one of my students is also, a great friend, and she's my manager, as I call her, for the workshops. But I have to say, a lot of the students that I teach, I'm really good friends with now because of being in the workshop, and there's a synergy that happens in the workshop where from day one, where people are just setting up. Some people know each other, some people don't. The people that don't are just sort of quietly, getting ready or whatever. But by the end of the workshop, everybody, enjoys each other and can learn from each other. And there's so much you can learn from the artist sitting next to you, like, oh, where'd you get that, cool applicator or whatever? Where'd you get, all this great stuff? Like she goes to Paris and gets all this cool stuff. But, and big long paint brushes, with the big handle in Italy and things like this. But so you can almost learn as much from the others in the workshop as you can from me. And I learn a lot from the students because people will say, oh, yeah, this color. And I was like, oh, I haven't used that color before, whatever it is. But it's fun to share and swap ideas. I respect the people in the class, and I know that a lot of people come in with, everybody has their own story, everybody has tragedy in their life, everybody has, personal issues, or, the good, the bad, the ugly, and we all come together. Things that are going on in the world, politics or whatever, all of that is out, and we're all just there to, paint, which is amazing.
The one thing that I would add too is that it goes beyond the classroom is the starting point, but it's a continuum.
Yeah.
So if I look at my phone and my texts, I get texts and messaging all day long from other painters, and it's either friends or we share our photos or our paintings and get feedback or camaraderie around it. In that, I think if someone's interested in learning to paint, the camaraderie from the center and from Mary's workshops extends well beyond that, and it just grows and grows. And we're just lucky to have such a good group of painters here. But there's a very long tail on it too. It's not 3 days.
And we're fellow nerds, life learners, and we sort of compete to see who's more nerdy than the other.
Nice.
Everybody enjoys learning. That's why everybody's there, and it's a really great environment to paint, and especially when you see all the great artwork that comes out of it. My goal is that people come out with successful paintings that that they don't want to throw away, because it's very easy to make an ugly painting. It's so easy, and you use a lot of materials, but there are some things that can really help, like. One of the things I also do on day one of boot camp is teaching how to mix a gray and working with a limited palette, just a yellow, a red, and a blue. So and I'll be like, the first thing as soon as they come in, I'll say, okay, put all, they have this big wagon. Okay, I want you to just take three colors out of your wagon and keep the rest under your table. And we're just going to use those 3 colors, and black and white. And I think one of the big things people are surprised about is how sophisticated their colors start looking by limiting their palette. And by using the colors, mixing them together, and incorporating just those 3 colors in the painting unifies it, and you get harmonies that you wouldn't get otherwise.
I finally found the connection between art and golf. Because, I remember hearing like, oh, when you're doing golf, and you're out there and you're trying to figure out, should I use the 6 or the 7 iron? People are like, take half of your clubs out and don't even just take half of them out. Obviously, you need your putter and you need your, wedge, but take the other ones out, because then your decisions become a little more clear, and you're as opposed to going like, should I do a 6 or a 7? I don't know. Oh, there's the 6, 7 meme.
I love that.
So I love everything you're saying, and I love that you touch on the whole thing of how people get this experience. They come and they get to be nerds or whatever it is, and yes, we have all these things out in our lives that we just we push all that aside, and now we're just present. It's something that I really want to encourage people who are out there. I do this every time I bring artists in, is I encourage you to find that thing. If you don't have it, then you're missing out. You need to have that artist expression, that creative expression. And so that's why I encourage everybody. It's one of my biggest messages out there is find your creative expression. And when you find something and you latch onto it, fully allow yourself to take it on and enjoy it, and let it become a part of you. And I feel like that's what people do when they come to, your workshops. We have all these workshops, and if you go to the website and you go to adult education and you go to workshops or master workshops, you'll see the long list of things that we have coming up. As we've said, Mary Parkman's classes are sold out, but you're going to go for safety and you're going to sign up on the wait list, and then you're going to look at the other offerings that are out there and see if you can find a workshop artist that resonates with you, because you want to get involved and you don't want to miss out. That's my biggest encouragement to viewers out there. Don't miss out. Go look at the website, see what is there. You'll find something that resonates with you for sure. I do want to ask both of you, what was the early spark? I mean, most people weren't born just painting, at the hospital on day one. So what was your first interest in painting, and how did that evolve for you from an early age? And then I want to know from you as well, Laura.
Well, I was very fortunate because my mother's an artist, my grandmother was an artist, my aunt was an artist. I was, there was art all around me. So it was not unusual for me to, my senior year, I went to Cleveland Institute of Art and took life drawing classes, like the first male nude, full nude drawing, life drawing. And even when I babysat for kids, I used to draw their portraits. So I really love drawing portraits, which is interesting, I think, given that I consider my florals sort of portraits, if you will, in that it's a likeness, it's an impression. I like to do portraits that don't give it all away, that you don't. Sometimes I used to like doing portraits where it just showed the head and the hair and blank out the face, and you could still tell who it was.
Yeah.
So getting the likeness is so exciting, and when you get that likeness, it's like, oh my gosh, it looks like them. And then, and then soften it to make it not too realistic. And I do the same type of thing with my florals. Like I don't want it to be too realistic. As soon as it gets too realistic, I want to smush it out a little bit. But so like I said, I did art very early. I studied art at Cornell. I have a lot of art experience. I'm a true nerd when it comes to art, and I'm very fortunate. So, I guess that's my answer.
Yeah. Okay. How about for you? What was the initial?
I think it's probably fair to say I've always been creative, but I came much later in life.
Okay.
So I guess maybe 5 years ago or so, maybe a little bit earlier, I knew I wanted to try to paint, and I also live in Virginia, and there's a center there, and I did try and take some lessons, and it was just timing. So for me, it was really these workshops that helped me move forward, and so I've taken the first year, I think it was the end of COVID, so it was sort of that oddity, but we were all still here. And then I've actually taken many classes more than once, and that's, every workshop may have a Florals One theme, but the actual work in class has its own attributes, and so it's worth doing more than once. So I've taken many here at Bonita, and I find them all to be useful, and that's really my jumping off point.
Yeah.
And I enjoy it, and it's been fun. But if it weren't for the workshops, I wouldn't be where I am today.
Oh, that's huge.
And I just want to add, when I first met Laura, I think when I saw her painting, I was like, wow, because she has a very abstract sensibility, and I have more of a realistic sensibility. So when I look at her work, and I look at it, I'm like, oh my God, that's amazing. And I think she was. I don't know if you were like, surprised that I recognized that in her work, but I knew right away that she's a rock star in the painting world. And I love it when people come in with a different sensibility than what I have. Many people have what I have, which is tendency to get too realistic, and you're just like, oh, don't get so realistic. But I love it when artists that are painters or anyone who has a more abstract sensibility and they're trying to incorporate
phones, they exist.
Thought I turned it off. And anyway, I did want to add, by the way, that I think the other workshops also have that wonderful atmosphere that happens in them. That the workshop environment. I know, like Kevin Gilmore, for instance, is a great teacher, and it's just a great environment to learn.
Yeah, we had Teresa Gerard and Kevin Gilmore on the podcast early on when we first started doing these. So, it's great to bring people on and for people to get a chance to get to know them. Did you answer? Did we?
I think I finished my answer, but I did have one other thought talking about sort of the differences in people.
Right.
The garage reference.
Yes, that's good.
You want to talk about it?
You talk about it.
And you can chime in. When some time ago I took a picture, and I have a friend and neighbor, and we arranged flowers for fun. And so I'd taken this photo of these flowers in a bucket, which is why it's called the garage reference, because it was in a
Sitting in
garage.
the garage.
I painted something, I really liked it. Then Mary said, do you mind if I try it? And so I was like, absolutely not. So she did hers. And so if you look at the two of them, no one's ever going to know that it came from the same reference. Right. And then we passed it along to two other, students, classmates, friends, all of the above. And so we have this, these 4 paintings that are all from the same reference, and they're so different. And it's so fun for us to see them and know that, because it's, again, something that's a shared passion, and it's just expressed in our own individual ways.
And Laura, with her Instagram savvy, posted something that showed all 4 of our paintings in it.
Okay.
And it's really cool.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because I just now had someone on the podcast about we're going to start doing some one-night events that are flower arrangement, starting in February. So that's a cool thing that we have coming up. She's going to do it seasonally based on flowers, so she's going to do 5 of them between February and December. So that's really cool. I look forward to that. And you said you were talking about figure drawing, and you were talking about I always hear people talk about drawing, and I hear people talk about the grid and things like that. And we have this atelier program that is really, really strong, that is all about learning drawing. And I was just wondering, what would you say? People are always like, well, I paint, I don't really draw. But drawing is sort of, if I'm not mistaken, it's the foundation of it all. So what's your as it pertains to drawing, what would you say about that?
I think it would be a great idea to take one of the drawing classes here, and because that's when you can practice on the drawing and incorporate that into your painting later as a balancing. Unfortunately, in the 3 days, I'm always trying to figure out how am I going to get all this into 3 days, and I just can't spend that much time on the drawing aspect. So if they can get it in another workshop, I think that would be great. Also, sketching in their sketch pad and whatnot, whenever they can. But being among other people and drawing, it's very helpful.
Yeah.
And a scheduled time each week, that helps.
Do you draw, or do you just paint?
I intend to draw.
Okay.
And I would like to take one of the workshops, and some of it is just timing.
Yeah.
But on my list of things, that's high on my list, because I know that that's for someone who's not a drawer or have taken much. I think it would be instrumental for me. Yeah. And so I would think, and I know there's a lot because I look. There's a lot on the Bonita schedule.
Yeah.
And so that's high on my list.
Yeah. No, it was just interesting because we talk about it all the time, or I hear people talk about it all the time in terms of how important drawing is, and then I also hear a lot of people say, well, I can't draw, and they go, oh, but you should, you still should try, and because sometimes it's a matter of just how you look at it. You have these crazy expectations that every line has to be perfect and every stroke has to be representative of something very specific. Whereas it's an art form, and practice is something that can help.
And it can be taught. I think some people feel like it makes them nervous. They feel like, oh, I can't even draw a stick figure and all this. But it really is. Don't get me started, because I would want to teach a drawing class, but that's how the color class came about, because people are like, when I was teaching the expressive florals and helping them mix color and just talking about it as if they knew it, and they said, well, maybe you should teach a class on color, because there is so much to learn. But same with drawing. I'm not going to teach a drawing class.
But I'm making notes. I'm like, talk to Mary about drawing. Okay. Yeah.
But I think that would be a great idea for them to explore drawing.
Well, we're getting close to ending, but I just wasn't sure if there was anything else that we wanted to discuss. Anything else should we cover? And we covered the classes. We talked a little bit about background. We talked about the dynamic inside your classroom, which is amazing. I've just seen it, and like with many of the workshop artists, it's one of the best things to see. My favorite thing is to walk by our studio where the workshops are happening and just look through the window, and you see everybody just working, laughing. It's like the scene in a movie where there's a character who's really sad and they're looking through the window at their family that's having a good time and they're sad they're not a part of it. That's what it's like when you walk by, because inside it feels so warm and welcoming, and everybody's just having a good time, and they're just in the zone, and they're working with each other, and they're talking to the instructor and things like that. So, I'm going to encourage you all again, go sign up, get on the wait list. Mary Parkman is special, and I think that you need to make sure that she's on your radar. And then next time when I tell you, like, hey, sign up early, do it. And that way you are more likely to get a spot. So, it's usually around, May sometimes that we're putting up these courses for the next year. So May is when you need to come look at the website if you want to really look ahead and lock in your spot.
Well, and I can remember several workshops where we actually had an opening, and we had a long wait list, and then we got through all the, say 9 people. Yeah. And then, so don't be discouraged about going on wait list.
Definitely do not, because sometimes people are like, oh, I'm not gonna bother with it. Right. But it's like there's so many people who have been able to take workshops here who bothered with it and got in. But if you don't, there's no way we're just gonna randomly go find you and knock on your door and ask you to join the workshop. So you got to join the wait list. Well, great. Well, Mary and Laura, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you
so much.
And I just want to say one thing. Jon, you've stepped in just last year, and you've done a great job handling all these, the whole thing. I mean, you've done it from day one, and our conversation, about various situations. Yeah. Jon's a natural, so I appreciate it.
Well, thank you. I definitely want to be there for you and support you in whatever way that I can. That will definitely continue. So thank you all for joining us. Again, artsbonita.org is the website. If you want to look at the master workshops that we have coming up, you just got to go to adult education and go to workshops, and you'll see a list of them that are happening between now and, the next 4 or 5 months. So take a look, sign up. If you can't sign up, get on the wait list. If you can't get on the wait list, or you don't want to get on the wait list, be ready next time we release all of these wonderful workshops so that you can lock your spot in for the next year. So thank you very much, and that's the end of this day's podcast.